Hello, everyone. Welcome to Business Strategies from McCrane Associates, and we're talking about Fix This Biz. So sharing information with you about ways that you can make your business more solid, working on recovery techniques for coming out of shutdown for coronavirus. I'm Daniel McCrane. I help six-figure businesses implement strategies in their business for both business and marketing strategies to help generate thousands of dollars of revenue in your business without spending extra money on marketing or advertising. So I've got more information for you today. This is a follow-up from last week a little bit. And last week we were talking about how to work on your target audience, your ideal audience, or your target market, however you want to say that. For who you're going to sell to. And I give you lots and lots of strategies. I had so much information I wanted to share with you last week that I ended up stopping early, and I'm going to follow up and give you the rest of the information today. So I'm talking today about not making any assumptions about who your target market is or what kind of message that they are going to want to hear from you in your marketing or advertising. Now, one of the worst things that you can do in business is to make assumptions. You know what happens if you make an assumption, right? You know what happens if you assume. Well, bad things. You end up looking horrible when you make assumptions. It's not in your best interest. When you're trying to sell to people, you're trying to reach out to a specific target market, you don't want to make assumptions about them. Your advertising could actually come across as offensive. You could end up completely missing the boat on matching your solution to their need. And all of this will result in you going out of business. And that's not what any of us want to see. So today, let's talk about how to avoid making assumptions about who your target market is, what you know about them, and how to reach them with your marketing. So let me share this information with you today that I've prepared for you. And I'm talking about doing market research. So you've made these educated guesses already. You've tried to figure out who your target market is going to be based on perhaps things like gender, age ranges, socioeconomic viability, just all sorts of things that you've decided about your target market. You want to validate those assumptions that you've made by engaging in some market research. So today I'm going to talk about market research strategies. And this is all aimed at putting your business into recovery mode. So this is something that should have been done in your business at some point already. Maybe you've already done this, and so maybe this video isn't for you. I'm going to share some ways, though, that you can do market research that will be no cost or low cost. So if you haven't done any of this research yet about your market, this is definitely something you can do that won't cost you anything in your budget. If you've already done this market research, maybe it's time to validate your market research from who knows when it was done past. 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, 2 years ago, might already be out of date. So you might want to do this again. So market research, of course, is the study of a particular group of consumers or of your market. And it's one of the most valuable activities that you can be involved in your business. So it keeps you connected with who your market is. So that way you can stay in touch with their thoughts, motivations, and behaviors of who you're trying to reach out to. And market research also minimizes the risk and the assumption-based decision-making that always happens in business. And a lot of what we do in business really is about trying to mitigate the risk that you're going to run into in your business. There's always going to be risk in your business. If you manage that risk appropriately, then you can avoid a lot of the downside to that risk. So market research is a way to mitigate risk that you have in business. So when you begin your market research, it's good to begin with a clear question that you want answered. I think I shared a little bit about this last week. I started to get into some of this. One of my big pet peeves about doing research And I do this to myself. I'm the one who does this. I get all the research done. I collect all the data. I look at all the data and I realize this is not what I wanted to know. So I've just spent all of that time doing all of that research. And in some cases, I've spent money trying to do that research only to discover that I can't use any of it because I didn't ask the right questions from the very beginning. So this is really important. Make sure that you ask the right questions up front, know exactly what question you want to ask. Also, think through what an answer would be to that question, and then ask yourself, if I got that data back, would I be able to take action on that data? So keep those two things in mind as you set up your market research. Otherwise, you'll completely end up failing. Your research will be a complete waste of time. So think about some of these questions. Here are a few questions you can think about. Am I right about my target audience assumptions? So what assumptions do they have? Maybe about life, about you, your business, your solution that you offer. See what assumptions they have. Here's another idea. Is my target audience interested in my new product or service? And they may not be. All right. So it's good to know that up front. You may have especially if you're just starting out and doing a brand new startup, you may have a fantastic idea for a product or a service or for your business, only to find out no one wants it. No one cares. Sure, it would be great. New kind of toaster, new kind of mousetrap, whatever that is, but nobody wants it. So then you have to ask yourself, do I really want to go to the effort of creating this business where there is no market? All right. Also, another thing to consider, I need more information about my target audience purchase motivations. So why do they want to purchase? You could research that. What new trends are my target audience following? What are they watching out for? So that would be good to know. What recent economic developments have impacted my target market? That would be good to know. Has something happened and so their income level has dropped, especially if your product or your service is a luxury item? Are some people no longer going to purchase from you because now it's no longer economically viable for them? How can I improve my customer service? That would be good market research. Has my target market changed in the last year? That would be good to know, especially if you've been in business for a while. Are you starting to see a shift in the demographics of who some of your customers or your clients are? Maybe you started off thinking, I'm going to serve these kinds of people, but over time, you come to find out, oh, I'm actually serving this kind of a person more often. So your target audience could shift a little bit. Market research does need to be done regularly, like I said, regardless of how long you've been in business or even how well you know your target market. Trends shift, environments are affected by economic and political factors and other things that are completely out of our control. So it's good to revisit these questions from time to time. So there are two types of market research. Almost sounds like a joke, doesn't it? But anyway, not going to go there. Telling jokes is not my strong point. So two types of market research. There is primary and secondary. Almost sounds too simple, doesn't it? There are three main areas of market research as well. You want to do your research into your consumer, your competitors, and into the market environment. All right, so things to think about with your customer then, for those three things: customer, your competition, and the environment. So for the customer, these would be things like the behavioral, the demographic, the psychographic, geographic characteristics of your customers. For the competition, we're talking about the marketing, the product, the consumer observations that you can make or gather. Sometimes you just have to observe from outside, observe your competition. And the environment. What is the social, the economic, political trends that may affect your business or your customers' thoughts or behaviors? So there's the three areas that you're going to research. Now, the types of research that you're going to use. Let's look at secondary. So secondary would be secondhand information. So it's data or research that's been completed by someone else or for someone else, but it's available for you to use and can be used for your objectives. So for consumer information that's secondary, you could look at different types of statistics. You could look into trade journals, public surveys by larger companies, and even government publications and surveys. When it comes to the environment, then, the market environment that you're in, a secondary source of information could be newspapers or other types of news media outlets, trade journals again, or consumer reports could be some options for you to look into. Now, primary sources of information are where you go directly to the source. This is firsthand information gathered from your customers or about your customers. So it could be customer surveys that you're getting back directly from them, or it could be observations about your customers or about your competition, so on. So for your customers then, information that comes right from the source would be really good. So surveys, whether it's electronic, paper, pick up the phone, do phone surveys. One of the downsides is primary data gathering from customers directly can be very time consuming and costly, but it is the most valuable because you're hearing directly from your customers. It's the most current and it's the most specific. So if time and money is not a concern for you, it's not an objection, then this is really the best way to get the information that you need for your business. Now, for your competition, primary sources of data for your competition. Take a look at what works and doesn't work. What are they offering or not offering? And try to determine, is there a reason that maybe they've opted not to provide a certain solution or certain product that you do? Maybe they've made a decision already. Adding value to existing offerings is something that you can do, and that would give you a competitive advantage against your competition. Take a look at types of products that consumers are interested in. You could research that. Also, note the types of lead generation strategies that your competition is using. Try to be very savvy about what kind of marketing they're putting out. They're putting it out for public consumption, and they can't stop you from looking at it. So review the advertisements that your competition is using and try to figure out what they're doing and whether it works for them. And if there's something, I'm not going to say copy, you cannot copy from them, but is there something that they're doing? Are there some mechanics of what they're doing that you could apply to yours as well? Take a look at the types of potential customers that you see in their store or the types of clients that they work with. All right, so here's some strategies then for cost-effective secondary market research. So this is secondhand research. You can look up demographic research on customers. So basic demographic research is something that you don't have to conduct yourself. You just have to go locate it. So every city, town, region, whatever, has demographic information available. It might be online. It might be down at City Hall. It could be in the libraries. If there are other types of business centers, maybe the Chamber of Commerce could help you with some of that. You can also look up national and regional statistics. That information can be available online or at other government agencies. So online and research customer service or customer research. Okay, I mentioned that a little bit already for both customer and environment research. You want to try to look for general consumer behavior. Purchase data can be extremely useful for small businesses. Maybe look up different types of keywords related to your business and see what comes up on Google. Go on YouTube and try to use those kind of keywords on YouTube and see what people are talking. What are they sharing on YouTube? What kinds of videos are they creating around your product or around your service or around something that's similar? That will give you some insight into how your customers are behaving and what they're thinking. So some of this information you might be able to find online. Other free information might be available at the maybe a chamber of commerce or other types of business centers. All right, so here's some primary market research strategies that you should not pass up on. The first one would be doing some ground research. Now, this can help you with research both into your customer or possibly into your competition as well. So spend some time in your local area, different times of the day, so that you can see if there are any changes of trends or times of the day where things are different. But during different times of the day, observe and talk to people who live, work, or spend time in your area. Maybe it's where your shop is, whatever is around your area. And ask yourself, what are some of the things that you notice about the neighborhood? How well taken care of is it? This could be a neighborhood where your target audience lives. Drive through the neighborhood and observe different things here. Why do people spend their time here? Is anything missing that you can see just by driving up and down the streets or just by looking around and observing? Get a sense of their age, gender, clothing, anything else that might give you some clues into how they think or how they behave or how they spend their money. Observing competing businesses would be a very easy thing to do. So if you have direct competition that's in your same local area, spend some time being their customer and make observations about their business. I mentioned already, you can observe how they advertise. What market are they targeting? Is there a niche market within your product or service that's being missed, that your competition is overlooking? Also, as you're walking through their store, what is your experience like as a mystery shopper of sorts? Sending out surveys can be used to research, again, both your customer and also your competition. So surveys are a very popular way to gather firsthand information from your existing and potential customers. Do take your time to administer them carefully and thoughtfully. I've mentioned to you before what I hate about doing data and research and why I spend so much time on the front end doing all the planning. Surveys can get very complex and there can be a lot of variables that you need to think about. There are companies that specialize in writing surveys because all of the variables need to be taken into account. You want to make sure that you're structuring your questions appropriately to get the answer you want and to exclude answers that you don't want to have that would not be actionable for you. So there's a whole science to creating surveys. Here's some things you need to know though. Keep your questionnaire short and focused. Only try to solicit the information that you need to answer your marketing research questions. It's best if you have additional questions that you think to yourself, well, that might be nice to know too, and I could use that data later on. Maybe you should consider just doing another survey later on. Keep these questionnaires short enough that people want to respond to them. That encourages a higher response rate. Also, remember that the information is only going to be as good as the people that you reach out to. So try to get a broad cross-section as you can. On your market research question, you may not want to limit it to your existing customers. Next, then you want to choose a survey method. This is how you're going to deploy your survey. Will it be by phone? Is it going to be on the web? Are you going to mail it to them on paper? And then understand a little bit about the pros and cons of each. Research different types of survey templates. You can get a free account for Sunky or Survey Gizmo, different types of survey companies like this. They all have templates already pre-built in their systems that you can just turn around and use. So research different survey templates and see if there's some things that you want to use. And like I mentioned before, make sure that you spend a lot more time on the front end of your survey trying to figure out exactly how you want to structure it. That's going to save you so much time on the back end. It's also going to make sure that you get the information that you want, that you can actually take some action on. Do include some basic demographic questions in your survey so you can cross-reference responses. You'll want to be able to do different types of cross sections. So it'd be good to have age range as part of your survey, income levels, maybe gender, and also profession as well. You could substitute education level too for profession. That might also work out. So it would be good to know if a group of people answered a question in a certain way, are there some things they have in common, such as age range, income level, gender, and things like that? It'd be good to be able to cross-reference like that. It's also good to have website analysis. So this is an advantage of using an online survey tool, maybe SurveyMonkey or SurveyGizmo. I like both of those. Those are two that I use. It's also good maybe to add Google Analytics so you can monitor how many people are coming to your website if you have the survey on your website. And then you can use that information from Google Analytics. You could also use Google Analytics as the survey itself. Take a look at who's visiting your business website. That'll give you some clue into the type of people that are becoming attracted to your business. So other programs like that, there are several out there, different services that will monitor traffic coming to your website and give you all kinds of insight into who those visitors are. That will allow you to see how many people visit your site, where they're from, what pages they're looking at, and how long they spend on your site. All of that information can be very useful. Now, how about your point of sale, your cash register in your business? Depending on the level of features that are available to you in your point of sale system, this could also be useful to run reports on customer purchase patterns and trends from your current customers. And if customer loyalty program, you can keep track of purchase information in each customer's file or account. Now, if you don't have a customer loyalty program for your business, there's another strategy that you can implement. Maybe I'll do one of these videos about customer loyalty program today. Now, the type of information you want to track here is going to be behavioral. You want to track things like brand loyalty, product usage, purchase frequency, and readiness to buy. Focus groups are another great way to gather data from your potential customers. So this is where you assemble groups of people together, maybe 6 to 12 people, not too much more than that. If you get more than that, not everybody has a chance to talk in a focus group. In these focus groups, you're going to ask them general and specific questions about their thoughts, opinions, and habits as related to your marketing questions. Be sure to bring together a cross-section of people, again, that are representative of your market, just like we talked about with the survey. All right, so those are some ways that you can do the survey. Let's skip ahead now, and let's talk about once you've completed your market research, now you need to analyze what you've got. So go back to your original question. Now you're going to weigh outcomes that you got. So you're going to evaluate the responses. How has your market research supported the questions that you set out to answer? And were your original assumptions about your target market confirmed, or did the research shoot them down? So some other things to think about. Does my target market actually exist in my geographic location? Does my target market actually want what I'm selling? Might be important to know. How does my target market want to purchase from me? Do they want to walk into a store? Do they want to go online? Do they just want to pick up a phone? Do they want to send a text? All kinds of things like that. Is my target market interested in my new product or service? Obviously, if you're just launching a new product or service. How does my target market want me to communicate with them? That would be useful to know. Is my target market large enough local area to support my business? This is something that I hear from business owners all the time. What if I try to niche down and get a little bit too tight? Then are there going to be enough people in my area who will be able to support my business? If I get too niched, am I only going to end up with only one or two customers in my local area? So I hear that a lot. And you're right, there is a balancing act. There is kind of a sweet spot there a little bit. Another question: are there areas of my research I could dig into for more information? Would you like to know more after you've gathered the data? You might discover some hard facts that you have to face about your business, such as you may have created this pet business that you just really love and you want to help and support this kind of person. The demographics, the age, everything we've talked about. You thought, this is my ideal audience. This is who I just love working with them. I want to help them. I want to work with them, only to find out they could care less. It's these people over here who are really interested in what you have to offer. And do you want to work with them? So you may have some very hard decisions that you have to face. Now, if you really love working with these people over here, you love who they are, you love helping them, and they want something different than what you're currently offering, maybe you shift. Maybe you change your business to meet their needs. So some things that you have to look into. Could be not enough large enough market base in your area to support your business. Just mentioned that a little bit ago. Maybe you've spent thousands of dollars already chasing after a certain target market, and now you have to come to the realization that all that money that I put out there in advertising was a complete waste because I was chasing the wrong people with my marketing. So when I work with clients, this is what I talk about. This is how to increase your business without spending extra money on marketing or advertising. Don't throw money into marketing or advertising until you know exactly who you are marketing or advertising to, and what your message needs to be, and how they want to consume your product or your service. Now, it's hard to face this type of data once you get this back from all of your market research. We do this, though, so that you can make better decisions about your marketing strategies and the product or the services that you're trying to offer. Have flexibility in your product, or you may be able to enhance them a little bit, or just kind of spin the messaging a little bit. You might be able to just make some slight tweaks or adjustments to your offerings, and or maybe extend your target market to more people. Maybe reach out to a larger share of the marketplace. So I mentioned that balancing act of trying to niche too small or a little bit larger. And your data, your research needs to drive that decision. So again, I mentioned market research needs to be ongoing. You can always add to your market research. So every time you touch base with a customer, with a supplier, with another sales rep, you can use those touch points to gather more information about clientele and continue your market research. It might be helpful to keep a log at your point of sale for staff to use, where they can record customer comments and complaints. Then you can you can look at that log to review customer returns, reasons for returns, and get valuable feedback for what you're trying to offer. So remember, things change. People don't stay the same. The environment doesn't stay the same. The environment where we're trying to do business doesn't stay the same. Products and services change. So you want to try to stay ahead of those trends and stay ahead of those changes. And that's what marketing is good for. So plan to make market research a regular part of what you do. Make sure you schedule time, set aside some money for doing some primary research on a regular basis. Maybe it's annual, maybe it's every couple of years, whatever you decide you want to do. But it's the only way to stay ahead of your competition when it comes to these trends and these environmental changes. If you do not innovate and continue to move forward in your business, one thing I can guarantee about your business is that your competition will. They will catch up to you, and eventually they will surpass you if you don't stay in contact with your research. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. That's the strategy I have for you to get into recovery mode. Use this market research to make sure that all of the marketing and advertising you're going to do over the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, as we exit this recovery, recession, depression, whatever we might be in right now. Use market research to make wise decisions about your advertising dollars. That's a strategy this. So spend a little time, try to find some time, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour over the next several days, and do a little bit of research into who your clients are, your customers are, and your potential customers and clients as well. And again, try to match up, like we talked about before, match up your product or service with their wants, needs, and desires. So that's your strategy for this week. I used to be a former teacher. Some of you know that. So there's your homework. Go do your homework, everyone. All right. I'll see you in the next video. To your success, everyone.